All right, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, all glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Rakakodash. Double honor to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone over well. Peace and salutations to all you Akim out there preaching the truth throughout the four corners of the earth with truth and sincerity in your hearts and for the love of the gospel. All right, I'm the brother Shemariah coming to you with another lesson. Prophesying the downfall of America and the ushering in of the kingdom of heaven by Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai. The lesson that I'm getting today is inspired by the book of Daniel. All right, to put it more accurately, the book of Daniel, the first and third chapters. All right, because this devil, right? We all know that Esau Edom is in the rulership right now, and before long, he's gonna force the people to bow down to his new system, right? His NWO. And those that don't bow down are going to be put to death, right? And then those that do bow down, they're gonna receive exemption from death, right? And this is nothing new under the sun, all right? When you get the book of Daniel, and I want to make this quick, book of Daniel 1 and 8. In the first chapter, they wanted the king. Wanted everybody to eat his meat at the king's table, right? I think I'll start at 6. King appointed daily provision. Okay, I started 5. For Daniel 1 and 5, it says, "And the king appointed them a daily provision of the king's meat and of the wine which he drank, so nourishing them 3 years, that at the end thereby they might stand before the king." It says, "Now among these were of the children of Judah, Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, unto whom the prince of the eunuchs gave names, for he gave unto Daniel the name Belshazzar, and unto Hananiah Shadrach, and unto Mishael of Meshach, and Azariah Abednego." It says, "But Daniel purposed in his heart that he would not defile himself with the portion of the king's meat, nor with the wine which he drank. Therefore he requested of the prince of eunuchs that he might not defile himself." All right, so Daniel didn't want to defile himself with the king's meat, because this is literal, but I'm using it as it's spiritual, because he made a decree that everybody's going to eat this substance, and that these are heathens. So it's all manner of abominable things, right? And even in the book of Maccabees, it tells you how Antiochus made a decree in the land, right, that you should tear down the holy places, tear down all the places of Hebrew worship, and build places of idols. And you had certain people that did not do it, right? So all throughout history, you had different kings that came up and tried to force, all right, their statutes on the children of the Most High, right, the Israelites. But only the true believers and the true worshipers are going to stand up and say no, regardless, right, regardless of the consequences. And the same thing is going to happen in the near future, right? The king of the earth is going to make a decree that everyone's going to. I'll get that later. I'll get the scripture later. But let's keep on going. So it keeps on going. It goes further down when he talks about let us eat posts and drink water, and we look better than the people that ate at the king's table. So from there, basically Daniel used his wisdom. He appeared. His appearance was better than they that ate at the king's table, ate the king's meat. Actually, a precept just came to mind. Let's grab the book of Proverbs 23. Proverbs 23:1 says, when thou sittest to eat with a ruler, consider diligently what is before thee, and put a knife in thine throat if thou be a man given to appetite. Be not desirous of his dainties, for they are deceitful meat. Labor not to be rich, cease from thine own wisdom. All right, so consider diligently what is before thee, right? And this is talking about when you sit with a rich man, right? This is how in the modern times how people sell their souls. You know, they go either the rich man, they do something and they don't want it to get out, so then they have to they're a slave into the rich man because they're indebted to them. You know, this is what it says, when thou sit with to eat with the ruler, consider diligently what is before thee, and put a knife in thine throat, if thou be a man given to appetite, meaning don't swallow anything, don't eat anything. Be not desirous of his dainties, for they are deceitful meats. Right? Because she's trying to deceive you. You know, and then you try to get you to go from your maker. Labor not to be rich, cease from thy own wisdom. Wilt thou set thine eyes upon that which is not? For riches certainly make themselves wings. They fly away as an eagle toward heaven. Eat thou not the bread of him that hath an evil eye, neither desire thou his dainty meats. Right? So that's what Daniel was doing in this scenario. He didn't desire the meat because it was all abominable. You know, and then also it was going to make him unclean. That's why he said, I'm not going to defile himself. He's not going to defile himself with the meat, the king's meat. All right. It says, for as he thinketh in his heart, so is he. Eat and drink, saith he to thee, but his heart is not with thee. Right? The morsel which thou hast eaten shalt thou vomit up and lose thine sweet words, meaning you're going to lose the truth. The sweet words is the wisdom, knowledge, understanding of Yahweh Hashem Yahushua. You know? But you're gonna sacrifice the truth for what? This abominable meat, you know, that's wickedness. But that was the point. So let's look at the book of Daniel, the 3rd chapter, 3 and 14. Now, then this chapter, Nebuchadnezzar made another decree. This particular decree was that he built a statue, a golden image, and he wanted everybody to bow down to it and worship it. And Nebuchadnezzar said, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, and Daniel, they all said no, which they gives their Babylonian names in this chapter. But they all said no, so I'm going to start from 13. Daniel 3 and 13. Then Nebuchadnezzar, in his rage and fury, commanded to bring Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Then they brought these men before the king. Nebuchadnezzar spake and said unto them, Is it true, O Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego? Do not ye serve my gods, nor worship the golden image which I have set up? Now, if ye be ready, that at what time ye hear the sound of the cornet, the flute, harp, the sackbut, the psaltery, the dulcimer, and all kinds of music, ye fall down and worship the image which I have made. Worship the image that I have made well. But if ye worship not, ye shall be cast the same hour into the midst of a burning fiery furnace. And who is that Yahweh who is that God that shall deliver you out of my hands? All right, so this is their response. It says, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego answered and said unto the king, O Nebuchadnezzar, we are not careful to answer thee in this matter. But if it be so, our power, whom we serve, is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace, and he will deliver us out of thine hand, O king. But if not, so they were ready to die. They didn't know whether they're going to be delivered or not. They didn't know whether they're going to die or not. But they were not they were not going to, bow down to the statue, to the golden image. Because they were only going to worship one God, So it says, but if not, at verse 18, it says, be it known unto thee, O king, that we will not serve thine gods, nor worship the golden image which thou hast set up. Right? So they were following the law, statute, commandments, rather than the voice of the kings. Right? So when you go to Exodus, right? The book of Exodus, the 20th chapter, in the 5th verse. It says, I started at 1. It says, and Yahweh spake all these words, saying, I am the Lord thine God, which have brought thee out of the land of, I'm supposed to say Egypt. Land of Egypt. This app is tripping. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image or likeness of anything that is in the heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them, for I, the Lord thine God, am a jealous power, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me. Right? So they were following this scripture. You cannot bow down to nothing else, only the Lord. So they weren't going to bow down. So it says, verse 18 again, but if not, be it known unto thee, O king, that we will not serve thy gods, nor worship the golden image which thou hast set up. Then was Nebuchadnezzar full of fury, in the form of his visage, or his visage, was changed against Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Therefore he spake and commanded that they should heat the furnace 17 times more than it was wont to be heated. So they heated it up 7 times more. It says, and he commanded the most mighty men that were in his army to bind Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, all right, and to cast them into the burning fiery furnace. So they bound them up. He commanded the mightiest men in his army. So these are the mightiest men. He bound them, that he bound them up. 21. Then these men were bound in their coats, their hosen, and their hats, and their garments, and were cast into the midst of the burning fiery furnace. Therefore, because the king's commandment was urgent, and the furnace exceeding hot, the flame of the fire slew those men that took up Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. So not only did they throw them into the flame, but it took up the mightiest men that he had in his army also, right? So verse 24, it says, then Nebuchadnezzar the king was astonished, and rose up in haste, and spake and said unto his counselors, did not we cast 3 men bound into the midst of the fire? They answered and said to the king, true, O king. He answered and said, lo, I see 4 men loose. All right, they're not bound anymore, walking in the midst of the fire, and they have no hurt. And the form of the 4th is like the Son of God. Right? So they were cast into the fire, bound, and the only thing that the fire consumed was the men that threw them in and the bounds that they had on their body. You know? Because Yahweh Shem Yahushua was with them. And they stood so stiffly for his word, right? And he says, Nebuchadnezzar came near to the mouth of the burning fiery furnace, and spake and said, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, ye servants of the Most High God, come forth, come hither. Then Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego came forth in the midst of the fire, and the princes and the governors and the captains and the king's counselors began gathering together, saw these men upon whose bodies the fire had no power, nor was the hair of their head singed. I thought I was supposed to say it. It's a singed. It says, neither were their coats changed, nor the smell of fire was passed on them. Right? So they didn't smell like fire or smoke or burning. It says, then Nebuchadnezzar spake and said, blessed be the power of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who have set his angel and delivered his servants that trusted in him, and have changed the king's word and yield their bodies, that they may not serve nor worship any god except their own God. Right? So that's the mighty act. I'll read the last 2 verses. I'll finish it out. It says, therefore I make a decree that every people, nation, and language which speak anything amiss against the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego shall be cut in pieces, and their houses shall be made a dunghill, because there is no other God that can deliver after this sort. Then the king promoted Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the province of Babylon. Right? So, but that being said, this story is what we use for comfort. We use stories like this for confirmation what the Lord is going to do in the time of our affliction. Right? This is the book of Romans chapter 15 and 4. It says, "For whatsoever things were written aforetime were written for our learning, that we through patience and comfort of the scriptures might have hope." Right? So we actually read these scriptures that we can have hope that the Lord can do it for us. If we stand stiffly for Yahweh Shem Yahushai, right, then the Yahweh Shem Yahushai is going to stand stiffly for us. You know? So with that being said, I'm going to get what this devil's going to do in the future. So this is the book of Revelations chapter 13:16. It says, "And he calls of all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads," right? "That no man might buy or sell save he that hath the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name." All right, so everybody that's not going to take that mark, right, is going to be put to death. Yeah, it's going to be put to death, man. Everybody that's going to take that mark, he said he can't buy or sell, and then he's going to kill. He's going to kill those that don't worship the beast. 15. I'll start at 15. It says, and he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. Right? So it's going to be the same thing that Nebuchadnezzar tried to do. And I'm just using him for an example because that's what we have written aforetime. But we understand what Yahweh Shem Yahushua said, the Exodus 20:1. Don't bow down to anything. Don't worship anything. Nothing. Don't worship anything. But if you jump to Revelations 14, it'll tell you the consequences for taking that mark, receiving the image and taking the mark, right? Which the image of the beast is this philosophy that they live by, and the mark of the beast is the actual incision that he'll make in your hand, to buy and sell. So when you jump to 14 and 9, this is the consequences for taking that. This is Revelation 14:9. It says, "And the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, If any man worship the beast in his image, and receive his mark in his forehead or in his hand, the same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of Yahweh, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his indignation. And he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb." Right? It says, "And the smoke of their torment ascendeth up forever and ever, and they have no rest day or night who worship the beast in his image, and whosoever receive the mark of his name." Right? So that's what's going to happen to you, all those that take that mark, all those that bow down to the image of the beast. So we have all of these one of many examples of people that stood so stiffly for the name of Yahweh Shem Yahushua. All right? And we don't want that. We don't want that punishment. So we have to be like the great and mighty men that stood against these devils, these heathens, aforetime. All right. And Lord willing, this lesson was edifying in the strength and the power of Yahweh Shem Yahushai. I'll give a mighty shalom to all you brothers out there preaching the truth. Until next time, shalom.